Hey everybody, this is your Right Geek, honorary man king and leader of the Awkward Cough Squad, here with a review of Kamen America Volume 2. In the past, I did review the first volume of this comic, so I figured it would be a good idea to follow up with the next volume. I want to say that the creators here, Mark Pellegrini and Timothy Lim, they are independent creators who consistently put out a very high quality, very fun, and very reliable product. Their stuff is never late. It always comes in packaging that is very well done and very well protected. They do a great job getting their products out there. So I really recommend that these two creators, just all of their stuff in general, because it's generally speaking a good product, and this is certainly no exception. So in this particular volume, we catch up with Carly Vanders, aka Kamen America, and Misha. And we set up this interesting story here where basically Carly is feeling deeply unappreciated in what she does. And actually, they actually start the story here with this flashback for the end of her high school years, in which we're at this dance where she expects someone who is wearing one of her dresses, because she is a fashion designer and she's very proud of her work. She expects someone wearing one of her dresses to win the Best Dress Award. And instead, what happens is this girl who she perceives to be a rival of hers wins instead. And this girl, Sylvia here, is someone that she is very clearly quite jealous of. But what I find interesting is we don't, the way that this is written, we don't really hear what Sylvia's perspective is. And here it seems like Sylvia is, to me, she's behaving in a polite way. Maybe she's somewhat unaware. She's unaware of the fact that Carly doesn't really like her. But otherwise, she's being completely polite to me. So I don't know what her side of the story is here, but Carly seems to have projected a lot of resentment and envy on this girl who maybe really isn't guilty of anything. So what the writers have done here is they've set up this flaw in their main character that Carly is basically projecting into this other girl that she's jealous of. These negative qualities that might not even exist in this girl, which is it's something that a lot of girls growing up they may be guilty of, right? This idea that we can mind read what other girls are thinking about us, and maybe what we're thinking is not correct. So that's I found that very interesting, and it kind of sets up the overall moral of the comic, which is that that if you spend all of your time trying to be appreciated and trying to get attention from others, that will actually distract you from what's really important, which is a very strong and virtuous moral. So we have here Sylvia wins the Best Dress Award at this dance 4 years ago. And Carly just gets very, very upset at this. And her male friend says very wisely, I think, getting angry and lashing out isn't going to make people like you more. If anything, it will make them like you a whole lot less. Which, yes, that is a very good. That's a very good counter to what you see in popular culture today, in which people seem to be encouraged rather than discouraged from holding resentments against people they think are getting things they don't deserve. These creators say, no, if someone is getting something that you don't have, then and you are envious, then you are envious of what somebody else has that you do not have, then the proper response is not to nurse that envy and nurse that anger and be resentful of that person, but to focus on yourself and to focus on how you can make your life better, rather than focusing on what's going on with other people. It's a very Jordan Petersonian message. And it's moral. It's very, very moral. And as you know, I love moral comics. A couple weeks ago, I reviewed another moral comic, and this one definitely falls into that same category. So after we have that flashback, that kind of sets up Carly's principal flaw, which is that she wants attention, she wants appreciation, and maybe that's distracting her from what really matters. Then we get this fight with one of the monsters of the week, with Misha and Carly both in the fight. By the way, the art in these comics is always very well done. It's very bright. It's very adorable. You can tell that it's manga inspired, but it also has elements that kind of fit with the Western comic tradition. And I enjoy it. It's delightful to look at and attractive. And that's pretty much all I can say about that, because I've said in other streams, I'm basically an art philistine. If it looks good to me, then I accept it and I say, this is good art, A+. And they are able to defeat this monster, but the normal people around don't seem to be all that appreciative. You got mud all over my car, you crazy bimbo, yells one. And Misha doesn't seem to be all that upset by the reaction, but Carly is, because again, the flaw that she has in this story is that that she wants the validation, she wants the attention from the public, instead of so she's not thinking about maybe doing good for its own sake. She wants to actually be congratulated for doing good. And it's interesting that that's presented as a flaw here, because as you know, in a lot of other modern comics, emotional validation is the thing in a lot of modern comics, especially the standard girl power comics. A lot of the female heroes that you see, say, coming out of the big two, when you have, say, like a Captain Marvel or a Miss Marvel or Riri Williams, they are constantly congratulated for being who they are, and they're not really asked to go beyond themselves in any way. They're just perfect, just the way they are. Everyone loves them. Everyone wants to take selfies with them. Everyone wants to give them stuff. Like, Riri Williams was getting offered, labs at MIT and places at Stark Industries, even though she hadn't really done all that much to warrant that kind of attention. But a lot of the modern writers think that a female character must be constantly emotionally validated in order to be a legitimate female character. These writers, on the other hand, are running deliberately counter to that. I can see that, and I can appreciate that. They're saying that, okay, this female hero wants to be emotionally validated. She wants to have the attention. She wants to have the appreciation from the public. But that is not what we should be seeking. That is not the point of being a hero. And that's something that I really appreciate about this comic, and why I entitled this. This is something that you should read if you're tired of those narcissistic standard girl power comics that that yes queen slay all over everything and talk about how these female heroes are just great just the way they are, there's nothing they need to change about themselves. If that, if that strikes you the way it strikes me as being incredibly immoral and narcissistic and not at all virtuous or heroic, then this is the sort of comic you actually want to pick up and read, because it runs counter. It runs deliberately counter. I know the writers are trying to deliberately counter that message. I can tell that that's what they're doing, and it's a great thing to see. So we have Carly getting very, very irritated that this Lansky guy is basically talking her down. And then we see Lansky meeting up with the villain here, Vermilion Masquerade. I'd like to know a lot more about her, too. I hope we see her in future volumes, because she's a very interesting character. And they are basically conspiring together to kind of pump up the whole hero versus monsters angle, basically purely for the marketing. Because Lansky here, he's got toy companies lined up for the IP, so he's all in this sort of hero versus monsters business for the sake of making money. Yeah. And he's not really in it for the actual virtue of the thing, which is what makes him the villain. Let's page through a little bit. We get to the next monster fight here, in which the girls actually meet Vermilion Masquerade, who is basically the orchestrator of this whole thing. This made me laugh here. Misha saying, "Kamen, Kamen, I am going to murder you." And whoa, could you take it down a notch? I actually laughed. That was funny. And there's a lot of genuine good humor in these comics, which is another reason why you should pick them up. It's not when they do something that is funny, it generally lands, which is just another positive in their favor. Yeah, so we have here, we're meeting Vermilion Masquerade. And then we introduce a new character, Kamen Ramen, aka Kimiko. And I love her because her story, where she talks about it, it's several pages down, but she talks about how she tried to test into college, but she didn't test well, so she failed many times, even though her dad was supporting her in her studies, and she felt very guilty about that. So when she got her water bending powers, essentially, she stayed with her father's company to help promote his ramen noodles, even though that wasn't something that she really wanted to do. But what seems to animate Kimiko is the idea of honoring her father's sacrifice and honoring her father's memory, which again, that's a very endearing and very virtuous and moral backstory for a character to have. Which when I read that story, I instantly liked her, and I liked that. I liked too that when she was asked what she wanted to do with her life, she chose something very ordinary. I want to be a radiologist, because she just wanted to do something good for the world. And again, she wasn't in it for attention. So Mark was asking on Twitter, do you like Kimiko? And my answer is yes, I do. I think she's a very good character. She has a lot of heart. She has a lot of honor. She has a lot of virtue. I think this is a character you can really do a lot with. And I would like to see more of her in the future. In this fight, we also see the introduction of Sylvia. Lansky has basically recruited Sylvia to be Kamen UN, she's going to be the one that's going to get all of the media attention with these monster fights. And again, and Carly is once again very resentful when Sylvia shows up and basically accuses her of being petty for participating in what is essentially this publicity stunt. But again, since we don't really see what's going on from Sylvia's perspective, we don't actually know what's happening with her. And I would like to see in a future issue what exactly is going on in her mind. And does Carly really have this girl right? Because I don't know, just based on what I know of these writers and their skill, I suspect there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that develops in future volumes. Okay, so yeah, these are the pages where we learn about who Kimiko is, and again, it is a very endearing story. You can tell that she is a girl that has a good heart, that she loves her family and appreciates what her family has sacrificed for her, and that makes her a very attractive character. But Carly right now is not being all that attractive because, again, she's the flaw that they've set up at the beginning of the story that has continued throughout the story is she's much too focused on getting the attention of the public, getting that emotional validation, getting that appreciation, and she's not focused on what really matters. So, and we see her staying up late at night, getting really, really bothered by the media coverage, which is, and again, it's presented in the story as her basically wasting time on something that doesn't matter. And then we have this scene. And have I mentioned yet that I love it when comics go to church? Because I do. I mean, that's why I liked Bass Reeves a couple weeks ago. That's why I like this too. So we have Carly going to church and she's talking to her pastor about what's bothering her, the fact that no one appreciates her heroics. And in another very moral scene, the pastor points out that even he who created the universe rarely receives recognition from his own creation. So he points out even God, who is responsible for everything, doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. Fortitude and humility are virtues that the talented learn far too late. Take it as a blessing that you're learning them this early. After all, virtue is its own reward. Which apostle said that? John Henry Newman, actually, but it's still sound advice. So this was the capture I snagged for Twitter when I tweeted that this also falls into the category of most moral comics of 2020, because again, its central idea is you shouldn't be in the hero business for the sake of seeking emotional validation and appreciation from the public. The point of being a hero is to do good even if no one is watching. Now, I'm going to stop paging through the pages here because I don't want to spoil the real emotional punch of this comic, but I'm just going to tell you that shortly after the scene, there is a portion of this comic that really, 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 really hits all of the emotional high notes. But I don't want to spoil you. I want you to go and pick it up. So I've put in the description below a link to their current Indiegogo campaign. Hurry, 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 and pick up a copy of this if you haven't already, because I don't think this campaign is going to last very long. I don't think they have many issues available for you to pick up. So again, peek down in the description, click on that link and buy this if you haven't already. I highly, highly recommend it. It's a very moral, very virtuous comic, and the fact that it runs counter to this trend where we're going to emotionally validate all our female heroes and never expect from them any actual sacrifice or virtue or any self-improvement. This is a comic that is a strong, strong antidote to that, and that's why I recommend it so highly. So, have any of you out there actually read this comic already? What do you think about it? I wish I could go through and point out any Easter eggs, but that's not really my expertise. Probably Marmaduke Fan's going to do that later on when he posts his review. All I can tell you is what was my personal reaction to it. What did I appreciate about it? It is a very good comic. And again, Mark Pellegrini and Timothy Lim, they consistently put out a good, reliable, high-quality product. I definitely recommend I definitely recommend all of their stuff. All of their stuff has been enjoyable to me. So please check them out. Check out the Indiegogo in the link below, and I'll talk to you again next week.